All right, I'm on my way now to Saturday Mass, Saturday evening Mass, the Vigil Mass, which serves the same Sunday obligation as a Sunday Mass does, for those of you who don't know that. And while I'm on my way, I thought I would talk about The Handmaid's Tale. Because a couple of you have helped me to see things about The Handmaid's Tale, this novel that was written by Margaret Atwood, I believe in the 80s, maybe the early 80s was when it was first published. It was made into a movie. I remember seeing the movie in the late 80s, and of course they recently made it into a TV show, an episodic TV show on one of the streaming services. And up until just recently, I never really gave The Handmaid's Tale that much thought, except that it was, well, I was of two minds about it, because on the one hand I really like my dystopian stories. I'm a big horror for dystopian fiction. I go crazy about anything that reeks of dystopia. But now we've actually got a society that is reeking of dystopia, and I'm not liking it so much. I liked it a lot better when it was just in the pages of a fiction novel and not actually happening in the world around me. So I suppose this was a propitious time to reflect upon dystopian fiction generally. And in regard to The Handmaid's Tale, I know that the author, is a hardcore feminist, and most of the fan base are hardcore feminists. However, having said that, I think that it has, having said that, and me not being a feminist, in fact, me being someone who's generally opposed to feminism as it is currently constituted anyway, I still think that it's an engaging story, and that it was told with some verve, let's say. It's a good vocabulary word, verve, and some talent was shown, the imagination given to this hypothetical future that was created in the story. So I don't really have anything against the novel, and and the movie. It's been a while since I've seen the movie, but I remember liking it back at the time that I saw it. Of course, I was a beta ass liberal back then, teenager in the 80s, so maybe my reaction wasn't really valid. But I actually watched the whole first season of The Handmaid's Tale on whatever streaming service it was on. Generally enjoyed it. It was only when they got into the second season, and there was some episode where they were showing some guy mansplaining, and it was like, ooh, look, he's bad because he's mansplaining. And I sort of thought, I'm not down for this. I'm out. I know it was a little bitty thing, but it was just annoying. Up until then, though, the world that was created in The Handmaid's Tale, it's interesting, and there is some imagination to it, and it's not immediately repellent, even though like I said, the author's a hardcore feminist, and the people who have latched onto it and made it into like a mantra, and made it into this, that they use they cosplay as handmaids in the red costumes and then they throw menstrual blood at you and tell you that you're a sexist pig and all that kind of stuff. And I'm definitely not into that. But the story itself is not immediately repellent to those of a non-feminist persuasion, because it's actually well written and the characters are interesting. The future that is presented is interesting. I don't know if I would say plausible or not, but interestingly, it's also about, it concerns how fertility got to be. It presents a future in which female fertility, has decreased. I think in the book it's because there was a nuclear war or some kind of catastrophe. And in the movie and in the shows, I'm not sure if it's explained. But for those of you who don't know, the premise is that there are only a small group of women who are of fertile age, who are actually fertile, who are actually able to bear children, and a revolution has taken place, or a coup, a counter-revolution, and this religious fundamentalist sect has taken over and restored the patriarchy, with a vengeance, so that it's all men in power positions, and so here's where it gets interesting, though, and I have a couple of you to thank for bringing this to my attention, or making me think in these terms, just because with things heating up right now, unfortunately, with the abortion debate. I say unfortunately just because I find it kind of tiresome. A lot of sound and fury signifying nothing. Not because I think it's an unimportant issue. I do. I think it is the most important issue as far as I'm concerned, because it revolves around protecting innocent human life, and I'm all about that. And by the way, if you're pro-choice, if you're pro-abortion, and you accuse me of being me hating women or something like that, well, just think about it. You're wanting to kill. You're thinking it's okay to kill all of these unborn children, at least half of whom, or around half of whom, are female. So who really hates women? Huh? Bet you can't come back from that one. Anyway, I don't really want to engage in abortion rhetoric or polemic, just because it's all been said before, and there's nothing really new under the sun as far as that goes. But let's look a little bit closer at A Handmaid's Tale. This is a really strange scenario, and it's it's recently come to my attention that what is on display in this novel and in this the movie and the TV show that the novel is based on, in this whole hypothetical world, this fictional world of The Handmaid's Tale, there's this weirdly fetishistic kind of idea or notion. Now it's presented as horror, right? It's presented as a horrible thing to have to endure, and the main character, I think, goes by I think her name is of Fred, because all the handmaids are of the name of the man that they're attached to, and So what the purpose that the handmaids serve is to bear the child of these men, because their wives are all barren. They've been rendered barren because of this catastrophe, this environmental catastrophe, whatever it was, whether it was nuclear war or something else. It doesn't really matter. So you have this weirdly presented these sex scenes that I mean, your first response is kind of revulsion. So I think what on the surface, what you're meant to think is, ooh, this is repulsive, this is disgusting, you know, fuck the patriarchy for making us do something like this. But there really was no there. How can I say this? It really, you know, in order to make it so that this was the way that things were done, this was the way that babies were conceived in this world. To have it be this ritualistic event whereby the husband and the wife get together, and the handmaid, you know, splays her legs, and the man is you know, feeling his wife, but he's actually inside, thrusting inside the handmaid. You know, this kind of threesome. You know, I had never really paid attention to it before, but this is a weird, like, we see a kind of weird fetishistic fantasy playing out here. You know, these are alpha guys. These are like, you know, these are guys who have a lot of power and clout. You have to have power and clout to be somebody who has permission to reproduce, and to have, and so in this sense, you know, being a handmaid, being chosen to serve a man like this is seen as a privilege. And also, you know, these are the few women who have fertility, so that, you know, the human race can continue to exist, so that procreation can still happen. So what's weird about it all, and what I think, I haven't heard anybody talk about this, because I think the novel is taken really seriously, and of course, you know, the most literary critics are lefties and you know, feminists, or at least pro-feminists, pretending to, they're either feminists or they're men pretending to be feminists. You know, pussy whipped men, beta cuck men, who have to toe the feminist line, male feminist types, and so they just see this phenomenon, this novel, this event that is the Handmaid's Tale. This whole, all the Handmaid's Tale lore is just super duper serious, right? There's nothing really to be to look at, askance at. There's nothing really to analyze here. They're in their minds. It's not like that, you know, they gleefully deconstruct, you know, traditionalist narratives, because of course they do, and say how everybody in Shakespeare plays is actually trans, or actually a lesbian, or you know that if you've spent time on a college in a college English department, which I have. I was an English major way back when, then you know what I'm talking about, because it hasn't changed. It's if anything, I'm sure it's gotten worse since that time. These kinds of lit crit, these trendy kinds of ways of deconstructing literature. But nobody's deconstructing The Handmaid's Tale because it was written by an ally. You don't deconstruct an ally. You don't look at an ally and say, what's the underlying weirdness here of this story? Why does this novel appeal to women who call themselves feminists? What do they get out of reading this story, which portrays these fetishistic acts, these humiliating acts, in which they are living vicariously through a character who is special, a special woman, because she has fertility, and is, who has to participate in these events, these ceremonies, these rituals, where in the company of this powerful man's wife, this powerful man, fucks them. It's hard when you get to a certain point and look at it a certain way. It's hard not to see it as there's some kind of fantasy being played out here. Okay. Otherwise, why put stuff like that in the book? Why have why have these lurid ceremonies? And it is, it's compelling. The movie is very compelling. The coloration of everything. How the handmaid wears red, signifying her fertility. I think the wives all wear blue. But there's something about, getting humiliated in this way, in this dystopian future, where in a way you can be a hero, you can be the hero, you can be the feminist heroine who has to endure these things, but at the same time you can also enjoy it on a submerged level, on a level that you would certainly repress from your consciousness. You would maybe enjoy the idea of, ooh, I'm a special person, and I get to humiliate this other woman who would otherwise look down on me by fucking her husband, in front of her. And the women, by the way, are really bitchy. The wives are really, really awful, mean people in these books. And there's also, of course, a subplot involving some studly handyman who she takes up with, because I think maybe the husband, the alpha husband, was not very fertile himself, but the handyman came in and did the trick, and they have their little trysts together in the pool house or wherever. So yeah, you can't. I mean, maybe if you've watched this video and you're not somebody who typically watches these videos, maybe you're offended by some of the things I've said over the last few minutes. But really, just think about it. If it does offend you that I'm pointing out these things about the book, think about it. Just think about, why is this material there? What are, and the readership is geared towards, of course, the female demographic. What are they getting out of this, right? There's got to be something that the demographic for romance novels, that they can take some peculiar twists and turns there, and they can involve the heroine, the feisty heroine, being put in certain situations where she has to be brought low, and she has to admit that she wants to be dominated by the dashing, studly rogue hero. Is it really that different, is what I'm asking. this whole you know, Handmaid's Tale stuff, seemingly written for an entirely different audience, for an entirely different purpose, you know, written for people who are serious. We're serious radical feminists, and yet there's a lot of the same elements that you find in romance novels, just in a weirder, more convoluted, more pervy kind of, frankly, kind of setting and presentation. Anyway, those are my thoughts on The Handmaid's Tale. What do y'all think? Let me know.